I've got the Give makeup neon sign back here. I've got the Harajuku, whatever that is, back there. I'm in Gwen's Zoom studio here. So
listen, before we dive into it, you got new music, you got a new team behind you, which is so exciting. I gotta say, I've done radio for over 20 years, country radio full time since 2017. This is the first time I've got to interview you, and I've been a fan for so long. So I was looking forward to this, man.
My God, thank you, man.
Well, you're so busy.
I'm happy to be here, man. It's good to meet you.
What has that relationship been like for you on a professional level? Because obviously you've been massively successful doing your thing. Gwen massively successful doing her thing. But has like crazy inspiration come from that relationship, or maybe thinking musically creative differently that maybe you wouldn't have without Gwen in your life?
It's kind of changed over the years. It blows my mind. Gwen and I have been together close to 10 years now. And it just, that time just flew by for us, and I don't even remember what the conversations used to be about music, to be honest with you. I know that lately they've turned into more conversations of, hey, you think I should keep doing this, or do I look stupid now if I keep trying to make it records, or you know what I'm saying? It's like, when is it time to go? I don't know how honest artists are on a show like this, but man, I'll tell you that at this point you start saying to friends around you, when you see artists doing things that you go, oh my God, that's a little bit cringy. Please don't ever let me do that. Please, for the love of God, if you ever see me get on stage and do this or that. And so Gwen is my person, and I try to be that for her too, although she's timeless. But for me, it's like, hey man, if it ever starts looking pathetic, or if I'm completely out in left field and nobody gets it, will you please be the voice that says, Blake, you should just go fishing from here on out. The music's not happening anymore, So that's the kind of conversations I swear that at least I have with her, But she's been really encouraging, especially the last 8 months or a year, because after I retired from The Voice, I have been kind of out in no man's land and lost a little bit as far as what I want to do next, or if I even want to do anything next, which of course I do. It just took some time to just have a breather and just clear my mind for a while. The Voice was a lot. It was the greatest thing I've ever gotten to do from a career standpoint, but it also takes a lot out of you when you do it as long as I did. 2 seasons a year for 12 years. It just kind of sucks it out of you,
Was that tough well, first let me say, we got to see you and Gwen. My co-host Tay and I were some of the behind the scenes hosts of CMA Fest. So it was awesome to see you guys kind of doing your thing. And my co-host never has an embarrassing moment, but as Gwen and y'all rolled by on your golf cart after the show, and she yells, "You're an icon." And I'm like, don't yell stuff at artists, crazy pants over here. But obviously you were there with Post. Before we dive into the new song, and I want to talk more on where you're at career-wise, this Post Malone relationship with country music has been so unique because there's people that have dipped their toe in, right? And and nobody's specific, but there's people that have dipped their toe in. And then Post didn't want to put out a country record his way. He wanted to put out a country record. He came to Nashville. He's met with the artists. He's created these relationships, which really look like more friendships and brotherhoods and sisterhoods than anything. Why, in your eyes, has the way Post Malone approached country music made it successful for him?
Well, I think in the case of Post Malone, the guy has absolutely worked his ass off to show his appreciation for the genre, the industry itself, the artists, the songwriters, and he's proven that he's willing to put the work in, and as easy as it would be to go, his album's out now. He's had two number 1 hits, and it's done. He won, and the guy is still, this last weekend was in Nashville. I saw him at the Country Music Hall of Fame helping induct Toby Keith with me. You know what I mean? He's still putting in. I wouldn't even call it the work. I think he's just doing what he wants to do. I truly think that Post Malone isn't trying to do country music. I think he's finally getting to do country music, which is probably what he's always wanted to do, or another thing that he's always wanted to do. It's not just a side project. I personally think the guy's here to stay. I mean, he's never said that to me, but he's an absolute fan of country music, and there's no questioning that. Anybody that questions that, they're not paying attention.
You had mentioned a couple of minutes ago in our chat here, you were in a spot career-wise. You had wrapped up The Voice. You were like, man, this has been a lot. You weren't sure what you wanted to do musically. What was the defining point? Like, okay, here's the piece I was missing to say, yeah, I'm ready to get back on the horse.
Well, I credit Post for that a lot, as far as not exactly the missing piece, but definitely the jolt I needed and the reminder. You start wondering, how relevant you even are anymore. I mean, as an artist, you can't help but go through these things, and when I got the call that Post wanted me to come sing on the record, it was like, oh wow, I can't even believe he thought of me, and then when the song came out and was a big record, and it was just such a fun thing to be a part of, and not having to put the work in. He's doing all the work, so I just get to be a tag along and watch this thing go up the charts. But by doing that, though, it helped me take in what was happening. When you're in the grind, and man, I was for 20 years, where you can't take time to look up and enjoy the moment when you have boys around here and you're just on a roll doing these records, and they're coming and going because you're on to the next one before you know it. And so being able to just kind of take a back seat and watch that song do what it did, and get text messages from friends and family and said, man, what the hell, it was fun to take that in for once, and it really did kind of light a fire under me again, and made me want to, stick my neck out again and make another record and see what I could come up with.
Well, I tell you, country radio has missed you, and we're excited for this new song, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, as a country music fan, and then obviously I get to work in the country radio side of things, you have a very strong team that believes in their people behind you. So I can't wait to see what y'all do together.
Me too, man. This next chapter is, I told Gwen, she goes, you seem different. I go, well, I feel like a new artist again for some reason, it's the only way I know to describe it. So I appreciate you saying that, man.
We get the new song to country radio coming up on the 15th of November. It's called Texas. Give us the backstory on the song. And I'd imagine you have more than this song sitting there. So backstory on the song, and then what made this the one that you're like, yeah, this will be my, I don't want to call it a reintroduction, but like,
that's fair. I actually like how that sounds, a reintroduction. The song is totally different than, that's probably not true. Since I've started, I've tried every album. I don't think I've ever had an album that sounded like the last album, and that's been by design. I've kind of been all over the map just because I've wanted to be. But Texas is another step in a different direction. I guess if there was anything you could kind of compare it to, would be Sangria that I had out years ago, but I really don't think so. I mean, I've heard people say that, but I feel like it's quite a bit different than Sangria. But I just feel like melodically and the story, it's your typical the dude got dumped and has no clue where his girl went kind of country song, but melodically and rhythmically, it's just totally different than anything I've done, and it's just all about fun. This song is truly just a fun song. I love all the George Strait references in this song because you can't brag on the king enough.
Amen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously, this will be the latest song that we've gotten from you in a while, and I heard an interview you did. Man, I want to say it might have been right around the pandemic, a little before, a little after. But you had mentioned that you're enjoying making a song and putting it out, versus like focusing on a full project. Are you in a different place mentally? Are you looking forward to a full project, or is it like, no, I'm gonna make a song, put it out, I'll give you another one in a couple months, put it out?
Well, no, I mean, look, I would love to do that. I don't think from a record company standpoint that they're interested in doing that. So I think they're like, hey, if we're doing all this, we need a whole record, which is understandable. I've been recording now for throughout this journey, and if they told me next week, hey, we need you to turn in the album. I mean, I have enough music recorded now to put an album together. I would like to keep going for a few more months here and see what else we can come up with. I want to make this record right up until they say, hey, time's up. We gotta start printing these things and do a photo shoot and stuff and get it out. So I'm going to work on it until then. But man, I've got a lot of stuff that I'm super proud of, and when I went in and had this meeting with BMG Records and told them, that I think I want to take another hard swing at this thing, I played them. I think I only played them 3 songs, and they seemed pretty excited about all 3 of them, and so that's exciting to hear. Texas was one of the songs, but I have several things that I've cut that if they would have said, no, we want to put this other one out first, I would have been pretty excited about that too. So it's just a good overall feeling, and I feel fired up again. I really do.
I love talking to artists, especially artists as established as you are you got your Vegas residency coming up, right? Like you could just literally bang out the hits and then head up to the penthouse and go to bed, right? So it's awesome that you continue to make new music. But with those big hits, I love getting stories about songs that you didn't believe in, or maybe somebody else pushed, you got to do this, and it worked. So what is that song or songs for you that you're like, man, I can't believe y'all like this one, but okay, here it is?
I think probably the best examples of that for me were both on my first album. One, believe it or not, Austin was a song that the label, there was Debbie Zavitson, who worked at Giant Records at the time, signed me, and she played me Austin, and I kind of thought, well, that's a cool story song, but I just don't think anybody's going to care. I mean, it's like the song every chorus is different, and are people going to follow along? And I just had a hard time believing anyone would pay that close attention to a lyric. And man, was I wrong. But she kept after me, and finally the demo that I had of the song was a piano vocal, and it felt very dramatic. And she said, why don't you just take the song and learn it your way and make it yours? Learn it on guitar, make it more of a guitar song. And so I did. And I'll never forget, I called my sister back in the day, and I just laid the phone down. This is back in probably 2000 or 1999, somewhere in there. And I just laid the phone down, and I played her Austin with my guitar. and I picked up the phone, and she was like freaking out. She's like, "Oh my God, that's the best song you've ever done! Like, I can't believe that's your song." And I was like, "Oh my God, Debbie was right, you know." And then the flip side of that was "Oh Red," which at the time that was also on my first album. And Austin had come out and was a big record, and it was a shocker to all of us, really, because I was on a record company called Giant Records, and the label folded, and Austin kind of withstood a lot of turmoil and became this big hit anyway. And so the label at that time was Warner Records, inherited me from Giant when they closed, and we put out another single called "All Over Me" that didn't do that well. And I went into the label and I said, I think we should put out this song "Oh Red," because as people buy the album and they come to my shows, that is the other song people want to hear. Yeah, Austin and "Oh Red." Like, I'm hearing a lot about it. People are throwing stuffed animals of dogs on stage, you know, when I sing, and I had to talk them into it, and then I had to beg them to do a video, and they just didn't want to spend the money, and they just weren't sure. You know, this is a prison song, you know, like a dog in a prison, like that. We're just at a time when country radio was very positive and love songs, you know, and very upbeat pop sounding music. I was trying to put out "Old Red," and honestly, it didn't do that well on radio. People are always surprised to know "Old Red" wasn't even a top 10 song at radio, but it went on to be made arguably one of my bigger, you know, signature songs, and it definitely, you know, sold a lot of records, and so it accomplished what we hoped it would. So
I know I got to wrap here. I wanted to ask one more thing as well about music, and I love the stories. Is there a song you passed on or somebody offered you and it ended up massive for somebody else? And I love to ask this because you bring up George Strait, and I always tell this story, but as I ask this question, Kenny Chesney was offered Check Yes or No first, and he passed. Yeah. And obviously that's massive George Strait song. Jake Owen passed on Big Green Tractor, one of Eldean's staple songs. So is there a song like that for you that just didn't fit where you were at, that you're like, I'm good, thanks, but you heard at 6 months later is one of the biggest songs in the country?
Wayne, I got to tell you, it's happened so many times. Like, it's happened probably 20 times in my career. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. Now, they didn't always go on to be the biggest hits, but it's happened so many times where these songs go on to be hits, but not many of them do I regret, because you know, just because a song goes on to be a hit for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean I want to be the one singing it every night. Now, if it would have been the difference maker, you know, that would be painful. And there are a few of those, you know. The one I think that hurts the most was, and I keep going back to my first album, but Bobby Braddock, who produced my first album, wrote a rap song for me, because I was always coming in the studio singing these stupid raps that I would make up, just gross stuff, you know. And he said, "Oh, you want to be a rapper?" And he wrote me this song, and I recorded it, and we played it for Giant Records, and it did not go over well at all, and then so badly that they said, "We don't even want that on your record. It's ridiculous." And so Bobby said, "Well, if you're cool with it, then I'm just going to go pitch it to other artists." And the first artist he played it for was Toby Keith, and the song was called "I Want to Talk About Me." and so, but you know, it's funny because Austin came out and was a hit, and I think the very next song, or the next song that Toby put out, was "I Want to Talk About Me." And you know, we would have had these two monster records in a row, and I had to watch Toby sing my rap song that Bobby wrote. But it all worked out. So Toby does the song better than I did anyway, so it all worked out.
Hey, Blake, I know you're tight on time, man. Welcome back to Country Radio, and it was an absolute pleasure to get to chat with you for the first time here, man. To many more.
You too, buddy. I look forward to doing it again, man.
Thank you, Blake. Take care, brother. Enjoy the day.
Thank you, buddy.